With education matters, teacher union SADTU is calling for increased security at schools. This comes amid more reports of violence against teachers by community members. In the latest incident captured on video and shared on social media, the parent of a pupil at the Pera Primary School in SADTU village in the northwest verbally and physically assaulted a female teacher. The parent can be heard shouting insults at the teacher before slapping her across the face. SADTU's Northwest Provincial Secretary, Els Temba, joins me now for that conversation. And Mr. Temba, thank you for talking to me. So, this incident was absolutely shocking. It took me a while to come around to watching it because incidents like these, you almost guaranteed that it will be the display of the worst of us as a society. Just from your side as SADTU, your reaction to that incident, is it an aberration, out of kilter with what happens on a daily basis in schools, or is this happening more and more in schools in your experience?
No, thank you for having us. I think it's a total disgrace, honestly, and a very serious insult to the education and the profession at large for having noted such kind of an incident. I think, as we have highlighted, this is now becoming something that is recurring in the province, because in a number of times we have seen this kind of attack to the educators in the province, and really it's highly unacceptable that we continue to have people who are supposed to be assisting in shaping up the future of our children being under attack from the same parents who are necessarily supposed to give them the support in terms of making sure that they do their work without any hindrance.
When you analyze what seems to be at the root cause of some of these incidents, what's happening? Why are we seeing incidents of violence, in some instances meted out by parents and people from the community who are supposed to be, respecting these teachers who are part of molding the future of their children? Why are teachers being attacked?
Look, I think it's a sense of lack of appreciation of the work that the teachers are doing. Parents, necessarily, they are part of the entire school community, and therefore they understand what will happen in cases they have grievances or they have areas where they think they are not satisfied, which they then need to raise with the school manager, so that if there are challenges, those particular challenges must be addressed. So I think there's a lack of appreciation and a lack of understanding of how necessarily parents must be able to raise issues which necessarily affect the learners at schools. But over and above that, as a union, we were just saying we are disappointed, because if you are a parent and your learner is enrolled in that particular school, surely you will understand what are the roles that you must play, what are the protocols that you must follow, if really you feel that there's something that has aggrieved you, that you need to follow, so that you are able to raise with the management of the school so that the matter could get addressed.
Are there interlinkages, Mr. Temba, between issues of discipline within the school environment and issues of violence and the culture of violence that is pervasive within South African society? Because, as we constantly say, schools don't exist in isolation. They are within a society, and the reality is that we are a very violent society, with the result that, for instance, a teacher, a parent like the one we saw in that video, can decide that actually, if I'm aggrieved by means of discipline at the school, I have to take the law into my own hands, as we see from time to time in the broader society.
Yeah, obviously, some of these things you can equally attribute them to the social ills that are there in our own communities. However, being as it may, it does not necessarily give any right really to violate someone's constitutional right of respect and dignity. Because what we have observed is that indeed that particular parent does not respect the profession, does not respect the educator, firstly as a human being. And we think broadly in society there are these kind of social ills. Some of them necessarily they are then being transported to our own schooling system, and which has a negative impact towards how the schools are being run. But
Elstemba, I don't know if you can still hear me. We seem to be losing the line to you there. The connection is failing us at the moment. Let me give it one more try. Elstemba, can you still hear me? No, it seems we have lost Elstemba, who is SADTU's Northwest Provincial Secretary. It's a pity. I was about to ask him about the interventions that they are calling for. SADTU at a national level, calling for heightened and increased enhanced security in schools, and that call being echoed by its structures in various provinces. Let me see if I can try one more time. Mr. Temba, before we lose the line completely, talk to me about your proposed solutions. You believe that security should be intensified in schools. The Department of Education has already said that it's nearly impossible to have armed guards in schools. So how do you envisage this heightened security manifesting in schools?
Look, Tuna Sizwe, our call has been that the department has a responsibility to defend its employees at the workplace. And therefore, we are saying that it is very much important that they take the issue of security in our schools very serious. Amongst other things, we are not only talking about physical armed security, but we are saying their control, access control mechanisms should be improved so that we are able then to know exactly who comes into the school. As SADTU in 2019,
yeah, that line is really letting us down. Unfortunately, the Elstemba, who is the Northwest Provincial Secretary of SADTU, will try and take this conversation forward with various union representatives and other stakeholders within the education sector, calling for increased security. And he was talking about access control, to control who has access to a school. We're that kind of a society where we now have to be installing all sorts of perimeter security, spending billions of rand that we could be spending on the software, the education software, and other hardware that helps pupils to learn. But because we are a violent society, we end up spending on some of these measures that, create the impression of building forts, really, around schools. But what can we do? This is where we are.